Prompt the system as if it's a entry-level engineer that's brand new to the project. Okay, start there, and as you start to build confidence in its ability and your own prompting ability, you can start to pull back. There's a few things I want you to be thinking about while you're prompting Cursor or your LLM IDE of choice. Scope, specificity, context. And the last thing is review. You're always reviewing the code. Scope, specificity, context. If you're writing a ticket for an entry-level developer, then you're not going to say something like, build me an app that does X, or build me a feature that does Y. Like, you're just not going to do that. It's not going to set them up for success. You're not going to have a great outcome, right? Instead, you're probably going to give them some user stories. You're going to give them description of the design, some design assets. You're going to describe the technical approach. You're going to point them to specific files, maybe even describe the logic that needs to be written out. You're going to be really specific. You're going to narrow the scope, and you're going to give them a lot of context, right? Repository context. That will increase the quality of your output, of the LLM's output. Now, if that becomes too tedious, well, what's happening if you're using Composer in Cursor is you're building up context as you're prompting it. And so with time, it's creating its own context, so you can start to actually pull back a little bit, and it starts to kind of understand what you're trying to do generally, and it starts to understand the repository a little bit more and how some of the files interact together or what their purpose is, because you're building up context as it's reading through those files and going into the Composer history. So start by prompting it as if it's an entry-level dev new to the project. And as you work with it more, start to pull back, and eventually you can start prompting it as if it's like a senior level developer who's been on the project for, I don't know, a month or something like that. But yeah, you are going to have to give it context, specificity, and narrow the scope, and always review the code. Oh, last thing, if you don't know how to do any of that, then just take what I'm describing here. I want to prompt the LLM with these things, blah, blah, blah. And go talk to GPT-4o and say, how do I do that? How do I prompt it as if it's an entry-level dev? And it'll just tell you. And if you see some jargon in there that you don't know what it means, just ask it what that means and start to figure it out, start to learn it. This is the mindset I recommend adopting for anyone diving into prompt-driven development. Hope it helps. Have fun. See ya.